Dennis Vermeulen, CEO of House of Companies, Netherlands. Edward Cole, CEO, Catalyst Technology, UK. Manohar Reddy Garu, founder, Fuji. Ravi Nimagadda Garu, CEO, CTO, Intelligent Design from USA. Satya Tadimeti, founder, CEO, Startup Crafters. Srinath Parankusham, partner, Siri Advisory from Netherlands. I'm not sure if we got Sumit Mathur from ServiceNow. Other than that, we also have one more guest, OSS Prasad Garu, Chairman MD Kakatiya Group of Industries. Thank you, sir. I request all panelists to be on dais, and I'm handing over mic to Sanjeev Deshpande Garu, who will be moderator of session. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Thank you, Jyoti Garu. I think some of you probably have been attending many sessions, and startup in Hyderabad especially has been one of the key focus areas for ISF, and many conferences have been held in last couple of years. But if you look at overall, a lot of industry bodies plus corporates, everybody has been focusing on the startup. So there is a reason why everybody talks about the startup. At least my opening comments confining to the India context. Employment is one of the key challenges that the country is facing. No matter how exponentially the corporates grow, the reality is that they will not be able to create employment anywhere close to what startups could potentially. So startups are extremely important, one from the country's employment perspective, because unemployment can lead to a lot of other civil challenges. So that's one number. Second is the economic prosperity that is all around, not just limited to specific houses, but rather if the economic prosperity has to reach to the every nook and corner of the country, startups hold the key. So from that perspective, startup success is in a way going to define the country's success. The startup's ability to collaborate and provide value to the global ecosystem, global companies, global customers, that can only mean that we are able to bring in prosperity to the country that ultimately can be distributed to the employees and so on and so forth. So in that context, I'm actually very happy to have a very esteemed panel with me to provide their experience, share their thoughts, and also give ideas so that all of the people, and I think the audience of this panel is not the audience who are only in this room. I'm pretty sure the content of what we discuss is going to reach hundreds and millions. So from that perspective, let's make it very impactful. Ultimately, we should be able to create a kind of a white paper that can be circulated among the startup founders and even to the policymakers who may learn a thing or two as to what can be done to further improve the startup ecosystem. So I will not take too much time introducing every panelist. What I would request all the panelists to do is maybe give one single thought, and along with that provide their quick introduction. After that, we'll go through the main round. So we'll start with Ravi. And Ravi, a quick introduction and a very quick thought of 1 or 2 sentences.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sanjeev, for having me. So my name is Ravi Nimagadda. I'm based out of New Jersey. I'm the founder and CEO of Intelligent Design. And as a company, we are a startup ourselves because we start something or the other every year. And we are an ecosystem company. So my focus today is going to be on how to make the startups into inclusive manner and how we can contribute to each other's success and how we are not looking at each other as layers, but how we can create an effective leaning on each other to collaborate. Thank you.
Respected J. Garu, ISF Committee and Distinguished Panel, thank you for having me here. I am Manohar Reddy. I am the founder CEO of UG. Just a quick introduction. I started as an entrepreneur growing mushrooms, made some films, worked in the solar industry, now trying to build some solutions in the automation and AI space. I'm looking forward to hearing more than speaking. Thank you.
Hello, audience. Again, thank you very much for having me here. My name's Edward Cole. I'm founder of Catalyst Technology. My background is in financial markets, particularly digital trading systems, electronic trading marketplace, and through my understanding of how software like Bloomberg completely revolutionized and magnified the speed in which financial markets grew. And the way they did it was because the players themselves, the markets, started to share information conveniently amongst themselves in order to get better transparency and more trust in the pricing of financial products. And like our previous Ravi, for example, myself also, we're now in the startup business, using that information, using that learnings from the financial markets, and bringing that to other areas like the health and across agriculture and other industries where data is not currently available safely. You can't apply AI responsibly, and so they need the underpinning technology to enable the safe sharing of reliable data. That's me, and I hope to contribute to how the new economy of young people working for themselves are going to be empowered to access the internet safely and go about their business.
Thank you for having me. My name is Satya Tadimedi. I'm the CEO and founder of Startup Crafters based out of Los Angeles. My journey is actually, so until 2010, I've been running a startup, technology company into hardware and software innovation and design background. Now we're running a venture studio and an accelerator and a venture fund, healthcare fund in the US. So we built about 30 startups in the last 40 months. So out of which about 6 are healthcare specific and rest of them are AI. We run our own GPU data center, AI lab for our startups. So I'd like to thank you, Jay Garu, for this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Adit Subedi. I'm the Chief Growth Officer of HackTech. So we're based out of US and the Middle East. It's basically into cybersecurity solutions. We started the firm in 2019, and basically I'm particularly responsible for developing the market in the US and in the Middle East. So I would really try and touch upon the challenges, that a startup, feel in developing the business, and also try to provide some tip to how to overcome such challenges in a competitive market. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chaitanya Gorepati. The two hats that I wear, one, my corporate job, which is as a managing director for DE Shaw India, or DE Shaw is a global hedge fund. And my second hat is as a startup founder of an F&B brand that's trying to scale up within the country. And I look forward to this interaction where I can try and see how we can bridge the two experiences of one being a startup but also having a wealth of corporate experience. And I've been a mentor for some of the ISF startups for the last 1.5 years, and happy to share my experiences. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Srinath Parankusam. Is it audible? Yeah. I'm Srinath Parankusam, partner of Siri Advisory. It's a strategic consulting firm I'm located out of Amsterdam. So we are present in 6 countries, including India. In India, we call ourselves a startup. I'll be speaking on all the, I can advise on all the startups. One message for all the startup is, don't have the word called failure. I would recommend you convert that into a learning. That is the message which I could give it to you.
Hello, I am OSS Prasad, 1980 IIT Delhi graduate in mechanical engineering. I had been selected by a company called Chevron in Texas. I was there for a couple of decades, specializing in the refinery. Business is in my blood. Startup is on every item I eat. Morning, I get up with a cup of coffee. There is some startup in that. So in my career, when I was there in Chevron, we have commissioned one plant 12 days ahead of the schedule, which has made me $100,000 richer in 2001, which is worth 100 crores in a Jubilee Hills plot today. That is what is the greatness of the startup. In my engineering company, I am now group chairman of Kakatiya Group of Industries. My technicians, my supervisors, my engineers, my managers, everybody, every day, every moment is a challenge to manufacture a thing. They have to use their brains. That is a startup challenge for that moment. They have to do something and succeed in that. That is the only way. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Be liberal with claps. Somebody's clapping, then holding it back. Don't worry. We'll welcome your claps.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Dennis. I'm founder of House of Companies. I'm a former founder of Inco Business Group in the Netherlands. We used to facilitate entrepreneurs to expand overseas. And I was very frustrated about all the red tape and the accounting requirements and the fact that when you speak business to a businessman, somehow you speak about formalities, about costs. If I ask someone, how do I start a company in India, they start about contacting a lawyer or how the formation deed should look like. So out of frustration, I basically sold my first company with a plan to democratize global entrepreneurship, to make entrepreneurship accessible for students, for young entrepreneurs, without spending a lot of money on lawyers and accountants. So that's one of my purposes here today. I'm opening an office in India, trying to connect with incubators, with universities, with formation agents and all that. And slowly we are developing a platform that will allow for more self-incorporation and self-governance by the entrepreneurs. So that's me in a nutshell. If you'd like to connect, please let me know.
Thank you, Dennis. As you could see, based on the introductions, these are a very esteemed and accomplished leaders who only have not grown their businesses but also are actively helping the startup ecosystem grow and realize its full potential. So I think to me, while I try to limit my comments to minimum so that we get the opportunity to hear from all of our other CEOs, I still would like to start with giving a brief context. Startups, while there are numerous opportunities, most of the opportunities and most of the attention at least is being paid to the tech-based startup. So I will encourage our CEOs to kind of also touch upon certain non-tech related situations, scenarios. Second, most of the startups, we talk about Silicon Valley, we talk about maybe New York, New Jersey area, Hyderabad, Bangalore areas. But there is also a tremendous other potential that is sitting in many other parts of the globe, especially in India and tier 3, tier 4, tier 2 towns. I think if you can also see what can be done there and what's already happening there, if you can enlighten us based on your experience, that can be fantastic as well. The other key topic is, while startups are there, a lot of opportunities, but if you are not careful, be it for the startup founder experience or otherwise, there could be a lot of challenges that may come our way. Right from the opportunities, how do you develop the product, how do you get the customer validation, how do you take it to the market, how do you scale it up, where do you get the funding from, what type of constraints, restrictions that you have. All of that learning, I think most of us probably already have gone through. So maybe as we discuss, let's also touch upon those topics. And while we have a very esteemed panel, I think we also have a limitation on time. So I probably will take one type of question to 2-3 my panel members and then the next question. So kind of we touch upon all of these key topics. So let's start with the opportunities. So to talk about the opportunities that exist currently, first let me go to Dennis. You talked about the opportunities. Why don't you expand on your previous answer about what opportunities you see for the entrepreneurs here in Hyderabad, in India, and also globally?
Well, yeah, thank God you add globally, because I'm not an expert on the Indian market just yet. So, yeah, the opportunities are, of course, enormous, but at the same time, I heard the comment today not to be afraid of failure. The fact is, 99% of startups fail. So that's why we call the unicorns next door unicorns. They are rare. So if 99% of participants of any program, if they fail, So how scientific is the curriculum then? You know, so I would say, of course, we can talk very scientifically about market research and our opportunities, but at the same time, most successful startups, most successful unicorns are driven by, you know, by spirit and by connection to what they like to achieve. So when I met several startups next door, I noticed some even have the same vision, the same actual product, which does not decrease your chances, of course, to fail. So I think one of the biggest opportunities is indeed focused on globalization, because globalization allows you to test different type of propositions. Perhaps your software does AI recruitment in India, but due to scarcity of IT staff in Europe, it might do something else, like onboarding of new customers in Europe or a specific European country. So the main problem with small and starting entrepreneurs, young startups, related to global opportunities are the costs, right? You cannot simply test out everything in any single country. And that's where House of Companies gets in, and several government incentives. The easier you can enter a new market, the better. And that experience will make you, as an entrepreneur, your company more valuable. So even if you are part of the 99% that will fail, if you have experience with another country, with a concept of entering a new market and having the right mindset to adjust your entity, to adjust your business to the global landscape, or the particular landscape of the country of market entry, you are more valuable. You will be a better entrepreneur, and then your next venture will also be better. So I think that is the biggest opportunity, the low-hanging fruit for a relatively small investment. You can become a global entrepreneur and diversify your risk and increase your value of yourself and your business.
Thank you, Dennis. I think the opportunity is just enormous. If I have to summarize, I think, you know, opportunity to become a global entrepreneur and also contribute in a very meaningful way to the country and to the society. And Satya, you know, you are startup crafters. You have an incubator. You have been helping more than 30 startups in last, now 40 startups in last 30 months, or 30 startups in last 40 months, 3.5 years. So what opportunities that you have seen, where the startups have been most successful, and, you know, if you had to encourage somebody here, you know, where do you think they should focus?
Thanks for this. So first of all, anybody who's starting a startup, I think, need to develop a deep subject matter expertise and or get mentors first. And then there's opportunities everywhere. Don't just go by AI or something trendy. Of course, AI can be leveraged for any startup idea. But so, I mean, we encourage, basically what we do is we have a vertical focus in healthcare, and we have an AI focus for every vertical. It's like that. One is a technology focus, one is the industry focus. So what I recommend is everybody just, look at the subject matter expert and become advisors. Plan very well, validate at every stage, and then actually there's so much of opportunity available, so much of investment. And also one more thing, don't start a startup just for raising fund. Okay, just make it a self-sustainable as much as possible, and the funding will automatically flow. And there are opportunities all across. In fact, the US, India is booming. Future is India, actually. So, thank you.
Thank you, Satya. It's a very valuable advice, because a lot of times it does so happen that, you know, we start the startup, you know, we go through maybe certain rounds, then we realize that probably we could have done something else. So the early validation, and also do something with more passion and with a purpose behind it. So thank you. Srinath, I know you come from advisory firm, but I think to me, if you also can expand on what is your experience has been in interacting with the startups, and where do you think they can be most successful, and where do you see most opportunities lie for startups?
Okay. I'm a bit nervous, very sorry for that, because I hardly speak in public. it's important that we have. We are a 12-year-old company. I wouldn't say we are startup. We are a 12-year-old company, and we do a pro bono advisory to startups. The reason why I said pro bono is we know the pain of a startup. When we started the organization, we know what kind of pains a startup undergoes. That's why we decided that anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, we advise them pro bono. And as one of my panelists, co-panelists said, do not start an organization for the sake of earning money. Money should follow your passion. And you have to have passion to do an, passion, what you want to do, then money will follow. That's first thing. And second point is, if you really want to contribute to the society, we don't need to think quite big. We don't have to be like Facebook or Google or so forth. First, let us do that. If as an organization I can give employment to 6 people, and that itself is a great contribution from an individual to the society. And what I saw is, sorry, I'll take one more minute. One of the greatest startups during recent time is the IFS, which under Mr. J.H. Chaudhary Garu. This is one of the greatest startups where everybody is serving without any interest, vested interest. They are the intention is to serve the society, to encourage the startups, build the entrepreneurs. As India, we are one of the greatest employees in the world. The number of employees are more in India. We produced employees in last 45, 50 years to the world. Let us produce employers to the world. That is what I say. Any other advice, please? I'm there.
No, I think it is absolutely fantastic. It's a quotable point that you mentioned. Probably we should make it a part of our white paper. We have been creating employees. Let's create employers as well. Fantastic. Now moving on, let's say from the opportunities, the next challenge that the startups face is my idea validated? Of course, we have passion. We develop something that we love. But is there somebody, who's willing to pay for what we have developed? I think, early validation is actually going to make the startup a lot more successful. So from that perspective, customer centricity. If you are designing something that is based on who's going to consume it rather than our own fancy, I think the chances of success are a little higher. So to comment on the customer centricity, I would ask Adit to provide his thoughts.
Thank you, everybody. So customer centricity, right, or the client centricity is again is part of sales and service. Now, yesterday, I think Jay sir mentioned about, if a startup is coming with a disruptive or a path breaking, is solving some issues that will sell, that organization will grow. But generally in other spaces, what is happening is we are seeing a lot of competition, not only in India, globally. Every market is getting crowded, right? Now, I run a company, I meet a lot of vendors who are top tier vendors, middle tier vendors, okay, ready to give me the solution. When I go to the clients always have a very less bandwidth, okay? So what you need to do, you need to pitch. You have all the solutions available, all the vendors are with you. What is the challenge? Challenge is basically scalability, right? Every founder is thinking about scalability here. I met a friend of mine who is basically co-founded a startup in San Francisco, and that organization is today a unicorn. Right? I stayed with him for 4 days, and then I asked him, like, what is your top line? So we do about $50 million. $1.2 billion is a valuation and sales is $50 million. 4 days I stayed with him, I could hardly spend 5 minutes because the guy is under tremendous pressure, right? Scalability is an issue. So client centricity, customer centricity, is becoming a key, even in the tech field now. You know, if we look at 20 years ago, how we used to see all the credit card business, insurance business, banking and financial products, what used to happen? We used to see a culture of sales, right? Go B2B, do sales. Similar thing has to happen in tech companies today. You know, building a sales culture in the organization. That's what I feel. Everybody talks about sales if they want to grow. Now, of course, somebody mentioned about being, doing something for a social cause, which is there, which is good. But if a startup is serious about growing to scale, right, and meet the demand of the investors, right, because investors are always on their head, this is very important, I believe. Now, strategies could be very different, right? Client is always in the center. I'll give you an example. I have a mentor who is based out of California. He is from the earlier batches of IIT Roorkee. Okay, he's set up, he's advisors to the boards of various tech startups. He has also done real estate investments in the Middle East and the US. I told him when I started, I have a cybersecurity company, right? I need to scale this business. I have a team. What do I do? When I met a lot of other people, they told me, wow, it's an in thing to be, right? Cybersecurity is everybody needs, but yet I'm not able to realize the revenue. Why? Because there's a lot of competition. So he told me one thing, do cold call, right? I mean, I said, why would I do a cold call? Why would my team do a cold call? Do cold call. You know, so the reference is basically not exactly to do the cold call, but building that mindset, you know, of sales and customer centricity. That is, I think, important, you know, to scale up. Thank you.
Customer centricity, if it is done correctly, then it also helps tremendously with the go-to-market. So, thank you. Chaitanya, would you also like to comment on the same topic, customer centricity and the go-to-market for the startups?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, taking on from what my predecessor said, I think let's focus on why is customer centricity so important. And from my personal experience, running a non-tech 3 brands in F&B, what we've realized is as much as we do in terms of sales and marketing, and you pump in money, you pay social media influencers, blah, 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 but that one testimonial of a customer and that one referral from a customer, that word of mouth and that organic growth is the most powerful. So both in terms of customer acquisition, but most importantly, customer retention. And how do we retain is only through customer service. That is super powerful. And some of the things that come to my mind in terms of focusing on the right customer centricity and service is firstly, having a really good quality product. You know, are you delivering what you've promised? You know, often we have a tendency to overpromise and underdeliver. And that's one of the first, key to failure. You know, to build that ability, to build that trust with the customer, you know, you have to deliver what you've promised and do it consistently. You know, it's not just about doing it once, but doing it every single time that the customer expects you to deliver. The second thing is how quickly can we innovate on the customer needs. You know, customer, you've sold them something for the first time, but their needs evolve. So how are you keeping up pace? You know, if you don't keep up pace as their needs evolve, they're going to find someone else to supply. You know, so how much are you in touch with them, partnering with them, and continuing on their journey such that, you know, they really make you their true partners? That's second. The third, you know, we always talk about ease of doing business for a startup, right? We need X from government, we need Y from government, and so on and so forth. But how many times do we think about ease of doing business for our customers? You know, how easy is it for customer to reach us? You know, do we have a dedicated point person for them? You know, how quickly are we able to answer their questions? What's our turnaround time? What's the response rate? Are we able to successfully solve their questions? You know, I think that concept of ease of doing business for our every single customer is really, really important. And finally, I would say seeking feedback. we often think that, all right, we've delivered and we've got paid, that's the end of it. But we often miss out that key element of seeking proactively feedback from the customer on be it the product, be it the service, and holistically what was their experience. Because end of the day, we all want to improve, we all want to get better and gain more customers. So there's nothing more powerful than that 0-hour feedback from every single customer on what could we do better. So those are some of the things that come to my mind in terms of customer centricity.
Thank you, Chaitanya.
I would like to add one more important point when it comes to customer service. The organization should be honest to the customer. And second is, we do mistakes. And just communicate that to the customer honestly, that we have done mistake, we will do it or we will make it better. Then the customer will be with you. And just to let you know, over 12 years' time, we have not lost even a single customer till now. So that's the thing. You have to be honest to your customers.
Great to hear. The common denominator, like technology today, is going to be available to every company. So the key differentiators are going to be integrity, ethics, and maybe the attention to the planet, the sustainability. These are the three key differentiators that are going to differentiate the companies from one to another. So thank you, Chaitanya, for adding to that point. We will, generally I'm very right biased, just kidding. We spend a lot of time on the left side of my table here. Now let's go to Edward Cole. If you can comment on the ecosystem, in generally what you see as the right ingredients that are required for the success of the startup ecosystem. So,
hi. I'll do my best to comment on the ecosystem. I think it's a tremendous word, and I think it's very, very relevant. And I'd like to sort of overlay it with put myself in the situation of somebody who's trying to build technology, build a startup. What does that really mean? I think if you look at the environment today, we've got an awful lot of power, an awful lot of ownership, all sitting on one side of the fence. The internet now has 4 or 5 very large companies which dominate the internet as a gateway. So the internet today is not really fit for purpose in terms of giving the young entrepreneur access to their marketplace. And as Dennis was saying earlier, the compliance overhead, the number of layers of regulation, and the number of third parties you have to pay for to get access to your customers safely is really a challenge that needs to be addressed. And I think this is covering not just this forum here, but we saw that in agri-tech, where they've got tremendous amounts of third-party burdens in the way. Again, you'll find it in fintech, we know about it anyway, but actually fintech's moving really quickly to disintermediate. And of course, we're seeing a lot of barriers in health compliance, which you can understand, but they still need to be addressed. So my message from that, if you look at that road, that map at the moment of participation, and then you look at which has already been mentioned a lot today, about the demographic of India and the opportunity for India, it's pretty much saying, relative to the rest of the world, that the young people own the opportunity in India. But how is India government and India big business going to make sure they don't suppress that and they give you the opportunity to participate and own part of the stake of that success? Then we get back to the ecosystem. In effect, if you're building something for you to be the mountain all on your own, well, you'll probably, if you're brilliant, you'll eventually be successful and somebody will pay attention. But actually not many of us are not brilliant, but we do have ideas. And if you can prove an idea and execute an idea once, you can probably do it many times. And we see other examples on this panel where people have done it before and then get better at it the second time. Now, I'm not allowed to talk forever. I could talk for a long time, but I'm not going to talk forever. Where I see the opportunity for young people is the internet. We do need a safer internet. And the way that the young people, they already know how to use the social media tools. They already know how to speak to each other and form communities. So in effect, you've got to find that community that actually cares about what it is you want to deliver, the changes you want to make. And some of those communities are going to be small and very niche because it's a particular technology or it's a particular capability you're looking to develop. And other ones are going to be very much bigger and enable you to have the influence you otherwise wouldn't. So what I'm really driving at is you have to hold hands, you have to share your philosophy, you have to build those communities. And if you do that, instead of just patching, and when I say patching, I mean building technology for the big monoliths today in the hope they're going to pay you a fortune to take your technology, I'm not sure that's your best idea. I think your best idea is to learn how to deliver technology to each other, to put up a threat to the current undemocratic internet that we have, and actually offer a very scalable alternative. That's my vision. Thank you.
Thank you. It is very, very important what you mentioned, especially now the word that you use, undemocratic. I think there is now the opportunity probably lies ahead as to how do we make it more democratic. So continuing on that same, Ravi, if you can comment on the ecosystem and also the emerging technologies, be it Web3. Web3 kind of taken a little bit of a hit, but maybe comment on that as well as to how can we make it more accessible and what is the ecosystem changes that you expect to happen for the startups to be successful.
Sure, there are two dimensions of the ecosystem that we typically talk about. One is an ecosystem that will enable you to succeed, and second is an ecosystem that you expect to be around you. So let's talk about the ecosystem that you want to be a part of it. So there are different type of cohorts that can come in. If you are a seasoned professional doing some other job, some other profession, some other business in the past, and you started a new business today. For you to be successful, there are certain things that you need to unlearn from your old traits, because your previous context is going to drive you to think and operate in a certain way, and your new journey is going to expect you to do certain things, and sometimes being nimble, sometimes being honest. You might not have done sales before, you have been a technologist. So that's one type of thing if you have an experience and the background of doing some other thing before or some other way before. The second type of cohorts that we see in the startup are the first-time startup. So they typically start just because they have an idea and they have a passion. They have an interest really. They see a problem. They see an opportunity to drive a certain type of an outcome. But they don't understand that they don't have a lot of things that they needed to be able to operate as a business. So the first and foremost important thing is to understand what you don't have. And once you understand what you don't have, then you can seek for those things. You can look for those things and ask for those things. And don't be shy, number one. Number two, when you are seeking for things, be clear in terms of be able to willing and accept. Sometimes if you have to do it yourself, you'll do it in a certain way. But you have a help, you have an assistance, you should be willing to accept the help in a certain way. So these are some of the ways of working that we tell most of the startups that we work with. And I also want to tie back to the customer centricity, product validation topics that were previously talked about. You can leverage, if you choose to be, or if you have plugged yourself into an ecosystem, you can get a lot of things that you don't have to take a burden on yourself, because somebody else would have already done it. So you just need to follow some of those methods, some of those steps. For example, we used to refer this as customer zero. When you have a solution, when you have a prototype, for you to validate your product, your solution, you need a customer who not only can endorse and reference, but also can contextualize about the use and the value a product or a solution or a service can deliver. So you need to find a customer who can champion that validation phase, and that's a very important aspect of your ecosystem. Then there are certain things that you don't have to do it yourself. And be honest on that if you are a techie, don't try to be a salesperson. Have somebody use for your sales and your marketing, right? Don't hesitate to take help. There are a lot of pro bono opportunities that you can dip into until you get into a positive revenue mode. So things that are not in your core competency, please try to lean on others. That's number two. And lastly, be very empathetic to your customers, your cohorts, everybody working on. Otherwise, ecosystems cannot survive.
Thank you, Ravi. Very, very valuable. Actually, before I come to Manohar Reddy Garu, Aditya, I want to comment on something.
I just would like to continue on what the gentleman said, separate the sales team from the tech team. Now, I'll give you an example. My business, I focus mostly on the banking and financial sector. So, and I'm not a tech person, I'm not a cybersecurity specialist. I have a team of tech leads and tech team who are experienced set of people who deliver complex projects to the client, right? But what happens, the CISOs in the bank, right, the IT heads in the bank, invariably call me in a span of 3 to 4 days. Because somewhere there is a communication gap. Now again, I'm talking about the client centricity, right? So with the tech team, because tech team do not, they are still learning, not all of them do not have that, the wavelength sometimes required to address the client's problems. So they eventually call me, and if I tell them, it will get done. Don't worry, I will take it up. That's all they want to listen to. So basically, when they know that there is somebody, right, whom you can rely upon, that's where you get the project, you get the repeated clients, and the clients will always remain happy, the business will be sticky. So yeah, it's important to differentiate and then build again that, customer-centric, team within the organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Manohar Reddy Garu, thank you. I know you have a very tight schedule. You need to leave at 1 is what you told me. But before you leave, you have built many startups successfully across different industries. Most of us kind of stick to one industry, but you can even produce movies. So your entrepreneurship journey probably is going to be a lot more inspiring because you have lived through all of these realities. If you can share your experience and advice to these startups.
Yeah, rather than advice, I'll just share my experience and see if it's relevant to some of the startups and young people here. See, I want to talk about why entrepreneurship. Okay? So, entrepreneurship is a way of life. That's how I have taken, of course, with some of the experiences I have gone through in my childhood or while growing up. We saw the difficulties. The only way I could actually create the wealth is through entrepreneurship, not by going to a job or going through a career. So, I don't want to talk about all the difficulties. You all know about it. Entrepreneur has to burn midnight oil. A lot of times it's a sleepless nights and all of that. I'll stop there. But coming back to what it means. How many of you have seen Godavari movie? A lot of them. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. So my good friend Shekhar Kamala directed it. So there is a situation or a scene where the heroine Sita, who is played by Kamalini Mukherjee, is trying to set up a boutique. And the father says, why are you struggling? Why don't you just get married? Why all this, struggle? Then she says, Nana, I can get married. Then there'll be, I'll get a couple of children. Then we'll go and buy some 2-bedroom house. The life can get a little boring. I want to do something on my own. I want to experience the life. That's what she says. That's entrepreneurship. Okay. So again, you have to choose whether it is for you. Sometimes you may have to go through one company or one startup experience to even realize whether you are made for entrepreneurship. I believed in two things, or rather I won't say I would know this when I started, but at least after 32 years. In 32 years, I have been an entrepreneur for 25 years, worked for 7 years as an employee, but I used that only to come back to entrepreneurship. Whenever I failed, I went to a job. Whenever I could manage a little bit of expenses, came back as an entrepreneur. So, I can tell you what I believed in, at least when I look back, this is the summary I got. There is nothing that you have done is a waste in your journey. It comes back again and again and it helps you. Second, you have to believe that everything happens for a reason. Either it's a failure, setback, success, everything. So, I'll give you an example. I worked as an R&D engineer for about 7 years, worked in the solar photovoltaic industry, then completely moved away to IT and all that. So anybody can say, hey, you studied mechanical engineering, went in, then why did you leave? After 20 years of gap, I had an opportunity to buy a solar company 3 years ago, and that became one of the most promising companies. I already sold a spin-off in May, and I'm actually have a concrete offer now for buying the remaining company. These two companies are making a lot more money than what I made in the 2 IT companies I have sold before. So never ever have to worry that you did something that went waste. Everything is a learning experience. My father-in-law, when I went with Shekhar Kamale's good friend, I left my job and went to make a movie, Dollar Dreams, back in '97. He thought that he has destroyed his daughter's life, and he started saving for his grandson, who I had a just son. He thought that this first son-in-law is gone. So the same guy, of course, we made very successful movies like Happy Days, Life is Beautiful, Anand, and all that. And suddenly, when one day he calls me when I was in US, I was doing okay. Then he says, Manohar, I want to tell you something. 15 years ago, I thought I have destroyed my daughter's life. I just want to tell you that I was wrong, and I'm happy to be there. So the thing is, the entrepreneurship can create experiences that I can tell you, we all have one life. We don't know what is the second life, or we don't even know whether it's a human life again. Fortunately, of course, Jaya Garu has been around through my journey. I was able to go and adopt my village with the 3,000 people and convert that as a model village. Took a 2 years break, lived there, and became the first model village in Andhra Pradesh state. I became, of course, I've been part of the Thai ecosystem, helped a lot of startups, sold companies, and today I'm still trying to build something. I actually took a 8 years break. I don't know how many people know this. So all I'm saying is entrepreneurship can give you that, and it will give you control over your own life, money, time, but you have to pay for it. But I can tell you one thing, everything happens for a reason, and I believe in it. Thank you. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, Manohar Reddy Garu. Fascinating to hear what you have to say. We have heard from all except for one, and everybody spoke about different industries, maybe primarily tech. But let's hear from OSS Reddy Garu, Prasad Garu, about the engineering and also other industries ecosystem and the startups. Please.
Hello. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till good become better, better the best. This is what human being is greedy about. This is what human being wants to go from good to the best. Necessity is the mother of invention, struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. That necessity has made us to invent AI today. We have AI, struggled a lot to get into existence, to get the acceptability, and now the tool is available to us. With AI at place, we have sky is the limit for startups to think. Information, communication, and transportation. These are the only things that are required to get any comfort and every comfort to the human being in this world. We have achieved a lot on the information. One click away, search engines are giving all the information that is available in this world. Communication. Old days, we used to take months together to get one drawing fixed and accepted. Today, across few people sitting together, huge, big, complicated drawings are getting accepted and being given for the construction. The only one place which our generation still not able to enjoy is the transportation. I prefer to go to New York in 2 hours' time. It's not possible. It is going to possible, perhaps, AI at place or any other tools that may come over the period of time. When Jay Garu was struggling for STPIs to establish, he didn't have a tool, internet in his hand properly. He struggled to get that internet, and somehow or other he managed to put STPIs at place. That time internet is a big thing. Today artificial intelligence is an acceptable tool. We never know after a couple of decades what would be other tools that are available. Research, lab, technology, all these things are going to become obsolete over a period of time. People like Einstein, Newton, during their time, what sort of labs they have? They have invented. Similarly, the startups, the young lads of 15 years, 16 years, 10 years, boys, will come out with the ideas which will be super duper useful for this society, surpassing all the research that is going to yield the results. So what I have to say is, startups today has got a lot of scope. Sky is the limit. Human comforts are so much at place. They are greedy. Today, I feel like not using the mic and talk. I think in my mind, and that should go to all the minds of you. And whatever you wanted to put a question, that should come back to me. And then reverse I will answer. Those days will come. Perhaps our grandchildren may see that, if not we. With this, I say that in engineering field, day in, day out, the moment we start the unit, every activity, every procedure, everything is a challenge, and we have to have some idea to put in there. That is a startup idea for that hour, for that technician. So startup is order of the day. Startups are unlimited scope. AI at its place will take the startup ideas to the skies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Some time ago, 6 months ago, Kathy Woods is one of the, some of you know, you can check it on YouTube. She made this comment that the world economy, which is roughly around $100 trillion today, can grow to $240 trillion by 2040. And most of that growth is going to happen through the companies that do not exist. That means she's referring to the startup ecosystem. And also even some of the industries, the way we look at them today may not exactly be the same, and some new industries may come up. So from that perspective, there is a great opportunity for everybody. And ISF, J. Chaudhary Garu, with all of your effort, I think everything that we talked about, I think this journey is not going to end with this panel discussion, but what ISF is doing, it is taking all of these discussions into reality, and it's going to continue. So from that perspective, it is actually contributing tremendously to the entire the startup ecosystem. And I would like to thank J. Chaudhary Garu on all of our behalf for giving us this opportunity, and also on all of your behalf as well. So thank you. And with that, I know Jyoti has been cautioning me, your time is over, your time is over. There's one question. Should we take that question?
Yeah, please
Okay,
go on.
Please. My mic is not on.
My name is Ramakant. I just want to ask only one simple question. What is the infant mortality today in startups? Number one. And what is the single most panacea, single most important solution, medicine that you can offer for increasing this infant mortality? This is in the interest of all the startups around here. Thank you very much.
Infant mortality. Anybody from the healthcare background? Go ahead.
Sorry, I snatched the mic. Any other people want? I am just talking about startup. Infant mortality of startup. The main reason why there is a failure of lot of startups is the intention to start. If you start a company that I need to earn money, rather than following what you are expert in it, what your heart says, that is the biggest failure, starting failure. Second is, when you want to be an entrepreneur, you should be ready to have the journey. The organization is like a young baby. From the day one, you have to nurture it till it reaches the age of 18, legal age. Because after that, it takes care of you. So this is what everybody should, follow. That's my advice.
I think to me, commenting further on that.
Just to add, if I may add, the second part of the question are what are the things that we can do? I think, it's always lonely when you are a startup entrepreneur. And just the sheer community here, everyone is ready to volunteer. And one, I would say seek help. There's nothing wrong. Don't shy away from asking help. That's humility when you ask for help. Second is being flexible. I think the moment a startup thinks that you know it all, that's a sign of failure. How adaptable we are, how quickly we can be flexible and evolve, I think that's another key to a long-term journey.
Thank you. The general statistics are out of every 10 startups, 2 succeed tremendously, 8 others take a little bit longer time if they persist. But the startups started by 50 and above are generally seem to be a lot more successful than the startups who were started by the younger. So all the people who are 50 and above, you have a better opportunity.
So the answer to the second part of Ramakant's question is frugality. Startups have to have a strict discipline, and startups need to have an accountability of how much they are spending, how much they are, and how much of runway that they have left. So if you run a startup with a good plan and frugally right, then the mortality is something that we can address significantly.
Thank you, Ravi. With that,